What's up? How you doing? Here we are. A beautiful day today. Beautiful day in Florida. Got up bright and early. Took a long shower. A little shaving. And here I am with a fresh cup of Lipton tea. Love Lipton. Delicious. Watching people play golf over there. You know, it looks like a good thing to get into. I never got into it. I have played miniature golf many times, similar, but it's in a smaller space. And I have gone to the driving range, which I appreciate. I love that, watching the distance of the ball as it travels through the air. But too many things you have to buy. Too much gear. They should have one club, does it all. Somebody should invent one and it just does everything. Putter, driver, all that stuff. But I think, it's a little bit addictive. I see these guys bright and early out there. It's like fishing. So yesterday we were all over the place in Disney World. Just want to make an observation. A little bit of a misconception. People think that Disney World is, huge compared to Disneyland. And it is true, there is a lot of land here. But for the park that most people care about, which is the Magic Kingdom, it's comparable in size. And I would say a few of the rides, at least for us, we gave the advantage to Anaheim, Disneyland. For example, we thought the Pirates of the Caribbean, or the Caribbean, I don't want to offend anybody, and Haunted House was of better quality in Anaheim, Disneyland. But not to say that these are not up to standard, they are. They're very, very good. It's just that when you compare them side by side, monorail. When you compare them side to side, the advantage, even if it's slight, has to go to Disneyland. And I think it's an easier place to navigate, but the reason this one has the advantage in size is because you have a lot of in-between space that you have to travel to get to the other park. And then a lot of it's not developed. So you can't count that. They say, there's 25,000, 50,000 acres. I think 25. Whatever it is, it's a big amount, much bigger than Disneyland is. But once you go into the Magic Kingdom, it's very similar. Very similar. The advantage here is that they have a lot more stores, good stores, and nice restaurants. They have more restaurants here than they do in Disneyland. But we have our hand-picked ones that we like to go to, and it's not like we say, these are horrible here. They're very good there, and I enjoy them. So, but they do have more restaurants here, and they're very, very good. And I went yesterday looking around, and I saw a hat. I wanted a hat. They have a nice hat store here. I don't know what it's called, the American Hat Company or something like that. And I was looking at it, I said I should get this. And then, I changed my mind and we left. And then I thought about it, I go, yeah, I'll go back later. We never went back. Got late, everybody was tired. But yeah, they have nice stores, nice restaurants. But the advantage is not that great. Not that great. Because like I said, most of the space is empty. And you have a lot of driving to do to get to the other parks. They're not together. But very beautiful here. The parks are very nice. We enjoyed, the rides. Got chilly last night. Had to put on a jacket. And now it's beautiful out. Slight breeze. I see the American flag there in the distance waving. How you doing? but I don't feel the breeze here. Very slight, a little bit. But yeah, it was a lot of rides, a lot of fast rides. Another thing I'm noticing, I'm a big on mountains. Love climbing mountains. I love exploring mountains. And they don't even have hills here. Nothing. I don't know, they're all flat. Everything's flat here. You know, I like, you know, in California you go and you see big mountain ranges, San Gabriel Mountains, love climbing those, Mount Baldy over there. Up in Santa Monica, the Santa Monica Mountains, Malibu. And here it's, I don't know what happened to the mountains, what happened to the hills, but they don't have them. And definitely they don't have the monorail. Looks full, not full, but good enough. Kind of early for full. But anyway, they don't have a desert here. The only thing I see that they have here, and it's a park, is the Everglades. That's where all the snakes, the boas, what do they call those? Anacondas or something like that. Apparently they're not, this is not their natural habitat, you know. So what happened was, I guess there was a facility here that had a bunch of these snakes in captivity, and there was a hurricane that rolled through here and it busted that place up and the snakes escaped. And where'd they go? They went down to the Everglades and they started multiplying. And they're not anaconda. What's the name? They have boa constrictors? No. Anyway, they're all related though. So they multiplied. They found each other. They had consensual sex, and they multiplied. And now they estimate there's anywhere from 30,000 to 500,000 of these roaming around in the Everglades. And the problem is they've eaten all the other animals up. Even the alligators, or crocodiles, I think they're alligators, even those have gone down in number. Birds, how do you catch a bird when you're a snake? A python, right? Python. I don't know how you get a bird when you're a python. You know, I try and get a bird takes off. But, you know, all the other animals, it's like they're gone. They're all gone. It's like in Australia, those cats that hunt everything, they've eaten everything up. So anyway, I was thinking, you know, say you live down there, and, you know, it's hot one night, and you open up a window, and you go to bed, you know, you don't really think about it, and you have a baby. Maybe you have a baby in your house, and an anaconda, or a, what do I call it? Python. Climbs up through the balcony, comes in through the door, and goes into the room where the baby is. And what's the baby gonna do? You know, you're thinking it's nice and quiet tonight, and the only reason it's quiet is because the python has wrapped itself around the baby. That's why. You know, but I always think of that, you know, where these big snakes are. It could happen to you too. You're in your room, it's nighttime, you're deep asleep. Maybe you've had a few drinky poos and you're lit, and you're in your bed and you leave a window open, and the python comes in and finds you and starts wrapping and wrapping and wrapping around you. Those things are tough to get off. So that's one thing. I'm not a big fan of snakes. We have them in LA, I know that. Not in the city. I know the homeless people would eat all those things up, but up in the hills. Like years ago, I was hiking up in, what's that? The Mount Hood, where the sign is Mount Lee. Maybe it's Lee. I know a Lee. And I wasn't paying attention to signs back then as much as I do now, but I was walking through shrubbery and all that, and then I was coming down from the sign, which I got to touch. There's a video on my channel where I touch, I think I touched the H, and then they call me up. They're like, hey, So I had to go up and explain what I was doing. I was touching the H. So anyway, there's signs all over the place. It says Rattlesnake Country. So one time I was coming down from the signage area, and I heard a rattle. And I was heading towards it. I stopped and I looked and I saw it like 15 feet in front of me. There was a rattlesnake curled up, kind of camouflaged. And had I not been warned by the snake, I would have walked right on it. Probably gotten bit by a rattlesnake. So we have them there, but we don't have pythons there. And pythons, they're creepy. They're big, evil-headed looking snakes. Got the eyes constantly looking, but I always think of that, you're sleeping at night, you're knocked out, maybe you're tired, maybe you've had a couple of, what do they call those, vermouths, and you're out of it, and the snake comes in. You think it's your girlfriend or something, and wraps its body around you. Every time you breathe out, it tightens. And before you realize it, you're done. Yeah, it's a beautiful state. But, damn, the mountains, they need some mountains here. Over there in the distance, they could use a couple of mountains. Right there's a good spot for a couple of mountains. The mountains would break up a lot of the wind here. When the hurricanes roll in, and maybe a tsunami could get knocked out by a few mountain ranges. It's just flat. You don't even see a hill. I think people get excited here when they look around. They see a little baby hill. Not even a hill. Nothing. I will say it's a good place for bike riding. No hills. Jogging. Little resistance there. It's just flat. It's like, I think North Dakota, South Dakota, they're still fighting that war. They're flat too, but I love mountain ranges. Mountain ranges, the desert, and the ocean. In California, there's always something. There's a lot of things to do there. Where here, there's a lot of things to do, but not a lot of things that I want to do. Although there is a place I'd like to visit, which we're not going to get a chance. It's a park, like a jungle-ish looking park. That's where they shot the television show Tarzan with Johnny Weissmuller. I always wanted to go in there, but it's out of the way, and we're not going to see that. Maybe next time. He was a good Tarzan. Yeah, I see the golfers there swinging. If I had binoculars, I'd get to see the ball in the air, but I see them swinging. I don't see anything going up though. Anyway, I'm going to finish my tea, and we're going to go out and get a bite to eat. That's it for now. Ciao.